Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to get straight into it in just a moment. We're going to spend about 30 to 45 minutes together today, and I want to make every single one of those minutes count. And just so you know who I am, I'm Wendy Miller. If we've not met before, I am high performance coach and implementation specialist here at ProfitTime. We work exclusively with accounting firms to help them build more profitable businesses so that they can create freedom, maybe get their lives back, spend more time doing the things that they love. And today is about one of the fastest levers for growth, and that's pricing. So hopefully you're in the right place, but we'll check that out. So before we get into the content, I just want to give a simple frame. There are only 3 ways to grow revenue in an accounting firm. Simply, you raise your prices, you sell more services more often to your clients, or simply get more of them, get more ideal clients. And most firms will spend 100% of their energy on getting more clients. They'll worry about it, panic about it. I just need new clients. We need to build our networks, all of that conversation. But very few of you will take the time to look at increasing your pricing. And the reason is mostly because of fear, and mostly because it feels too hard and too overwhelming. But pricing is the way that you will build your business in the quickest, cheapest, and in the most profitable way. It's a profitable thing to do. So here's a few quick questions for you. First one, have you ever adjusted an invoice down before sending it because it felt too high? And by the way, if you're saying yes, just drop a yes in the chat so that I know this is landing and you're in the right place. Do you have clients that you've served for years and genuinely cannot remember the last time you reviewed what they pay you? Yep. Third one. And if I asked you right now, what's your firm's average hourly rate? Not your charge out rates, but your average hourly rate. Do you know the number? So if any of those have landed, I see some yeses already. And look, I'm guessing that they did, right? This is why we do what we do. We hear this all the time. You're not alone, but you are in the right place. And that's my hope for today, that we spend this time together and you can actually take some value from this conversation. Now, by the way, please feel free to use the chat as we go. I may not have time to answer questions directly, but I do read everything that goes into the chat. And of course, you can reach out to me beyond this webinar as well. So let's get into it. What we want to talk about today is that it's actually mindset is a big part of the pricing lever. And I want to take a look at the common traditional structure first. And generally that's people, times available hours, times your charge out rate. And at some point we might take off some time or money, which we call write-offs, and that equates to our revenue, quite simply. But here's the issue with that. The old model is essentially a headcount equation where more revenue means more staff. But what we also know, particularly in today's market, that finding, hiring, and training good accountants takes months and costs a fortune. And often you're only one resignation away from a capacity issue. You can't scale fast enough with this model, and you know it, and you've probably experienced it. That's the first issue. The second issue is that charge out rates are linked to salaries. When you raise your charge out rates to grow your revenue, your team naturally expects higher salaries, and the margin will barely move. You seem to run faster, but feel like you're in the same place. And the only way off that treadmill is to actually decouple revenue from time entirely. And that's what value pricing and monthly recurring revenue do. And we'll talk more about that. The third point is utilization pressure. Now, productivity is one measure, and it will tell you how busy your team actually is. And we think they should be about 75% productive, and that's on the conservative side. It's a good, healthy target, but it's different from realization rate. And realization rate is a billing measure. It tells you how much of that busy time that you actually got paid for. So you can have 80% utilization and still be writing off. Your team is busy and you're not collecting everything you earn. And that old model rewards hours worked, not results delivered. So a team member could be taking 8 hours on a 4-hour job and they're a hero on the timesheet. But that's the wrong incentive. And that's why we want to change this. Fourth point, billing in arrears. You do the work, you decide what to charge, client has no idea what's coming. Then you feel uncomfortable because you've looked at the number, and then you discount it before the invoice even goes out. Billing in arrears is the structural cause of most write-offs. It's not a discipline problem, it's just a system problem. And then beneath that, there's a belief. There's a fear, a belief, a mindset problem. Number 5, unfortunately, write-offs get normalized. Most firms actually track this as a realization, and 90% sounds respectable. But that means you destroyed 10% of your revenue before you invoiced it. And on a $1 million or a $1.5 million firm, that's $150,000 gone every year. And the fact that you budget for this and the fact that the accounting industry treats this as normal is extraordinary to me. We want to help change that. So I hear it from partners all the time. We just went through the numbers. We had 90% realization rate. That's great. We hit target. That still means you wrote off 10% of your revenue. You didn't protect it. You didn't negotiate it. Nobody asked for a discount. You destroyed it before the invoice even went out. And that's your luxury car every year, or whatever you might spend $150,000 on. I could find some good ways to spend $150,000. So here's what's happening. Here's the 6 reasons why write-offs happen. And I wanted to get these out in the open so that if you're doing any of them, stop it. First one, too much time taken for the fee charged. There is Parkinson's law here at play, where work expands to fill the available time. Without a fixed upfront price, there is no incentive for the team to be efficient. The team will take as long as it takes to get the job done, and you'll take a look at the invoice and you'll write off the excess rather than having an awkward conversation, whether that be with your team or with your client. Number 2, fee was too low in the first place. Upstream of everything else, if you underpriced to win the client, or you guessed too low, or you caved on the price, there is no amount of efficient delivery that can save you. The write-off will be inevitable when the fee is too low in the first place. Last year's fee, and we've all done this, I remember doing it, it was SALY on the work paper, same as last year. Rolling a client over at last year's fee feels easy, but there's inflation and complexity and scope. There's always creep. What about the client? Surely the client is growing, they're getting bigger, their needs are greater, and you're charging what you charged 3 years ago. The write-off's what happens when reality catches up, when we've not kept tabs on this. Number 4, billing in arrears. The sequence creates the problem, right? It gets baked into your actual model because everything happens after the fact. We do the work, we feel weird about it, then we take a look at the price, we discount it. It's almost automatic. Upfront pricing eliminates this because the number is agreed by both parties before any emotional investment in the work has happened. You go into a supermarket and you pick a product up off the shelf, the price is agreed before you get to the checkout. Same thing here. The 5th one, budgeting for write-offs, right? When a firm builds budgets assuming a 10% write-off rate, they're institutionalizing failure. They've already decided in advance that they won't collect everything that they've earned. And so it becomes self-fulfilling. It's really remarkable that when you set a target for something, you'll likely hit it or at least get close. And when we're budgeting for it, there's no urgency to fix the problem. And you might think it's a small thing, but the bigger you are, the bigger that number. And the sixth one, I've used the word gutlessness because it's a little bit punchy, but this is the mindset. This is the belief. Plain and simple. The fee's probably right. You're good people doing great work on your clients, and maybe you're still billing in arrears, but you've set healthy charge out rates. And then we're writing it down. Work is probably excellent, but it's your mindset that trims the invoice. And it's not even because the client asked for a discount. It's just because you didn't have the confidence or the courage to stand behind your pricing. And that's one of the hardest things to fix. And that's why it takes coaching. That's why we do what we do. But the good news is that all of this is fixable, which is why we love it. And it's just in one change, one or two or three changes in how you price. And that's exactly what we'll go through next. So the first thing that we'll talk about is pricing up front. It's the most concrete, most practical move you can do, and it's the simplest. Also the fastest. Simply price up front. Every client knows the price of the job before you start, in writing and agreed. The thing about when you take your car to the mechanic, they don't fix it and then tell you what it cost. They'll call you and they'll explain what's wrong, explain what they found, give you a price, get the go-ahead. Then they do the work. If something extra comes up, they'll call you again. With your mechanic, you always know where you stand, and I bet you still want to get there at the end of the day to pick your car up in good working order. But most accounting firms do work the opposite way. They'll do the work, figure out what to charge, feel awkward about it, change the invoice. The client then thinks, I wasn't expecting that, and then write-offs happen. Maybe discounts happen, maybe negotiations happen, and upfront pricing fixes all of that. You scope it, you price it, you agree on it before you start. And you set that little side note, hey, when we get into this job, if there's anything that changes, we're going to give you a call, okay? If we find anything else, we will call you before we proceed. You're already setting that expectation up front and in advance. Now, I know the next question, I hear it all the time. What if we can't scope it? What if it's a brand new client? What if we've never done it before? You define the scope as best as you can. You talk to the client about how you're going to tackle or approach the project. And if new work emerges, you have a conversation about it. I promise you that conversation is much easier than an invoice that catches your client by surprise. Build in communicating with your clients through the course of the work, and you'll help solve this one. Is this landing? Team, pricing up front. Next up, value pricing. This one's definitely about mindset and supported by process. Everything we do is underpinned by process, right? We want a repeatable framework that we can come back to time and time again to remove the guesswork. So here's an example. A client comes to you with a messy structure, maybe through some smart planning, restructuring, you're able to identify $80,000 savings in tax. Now, how long did that take? Now, for you guys, super intelligent, love how smart you are and love how in touch you are with the laws and how quickly you can move through this. So maybe it's 6 hours. At a standard charge out rate, the way you've been doing things, 6 hours, $350, consulting rates here, it's a $2,100 invoice. But you just saved them $80,000. Does that feel right? Value pricing asks a different question before you price the job. It doesn't ask how long will this take, but what is this outcome actually worth to the client? What's the cost of not doing this? What's the difference between not restructuring and planning or planning and restructuring? What's the difference between what they have now and what they'll have afterwards? When you start asking those questions, that's where the price changes. And I know for some, This might feel uncomfortable. It has for plenty of people that we've worked with. But once you make the shift, and once you get some evidence that your clients aren't going anywhere, there's no going back, and this becomes fun. Because there is one thing, there's many things I want you to hear, but there is one thing I come back to time and time again. You are not selling time. You're selling your expertise. You're selling your knowledge, your tenure, what took you years and years to develop. Stop selling time. These 4 questions will help you. Whenever you're in front of one of these jobs, you've got an opportunity here to think about value pricing. Straight up, what's the situation? What are we dealing with here? What does it look like? And by the way, this is a great one to create a pricing council with your team. Get your team around this. Here's the situation. Here's what's possible with us or without us. What's the value of the outcome? And what's the cost of not doing this? These are all questions you're asking about the client situation to help you uncover the value. This is fun, right? Value pricing is fun. Let's talk about monthly recurring revenue. It's the third lever when we're talking about pricing and packaging. This one changes your business model, not just your billing process. So take your standard compliance client, perhaps there's a tax return, bookkeeping, a couple of calls, an annual review, and you do this every year with them. Roughly what's involved, how long it takes, you've got all that information. And so instead of invoicing once a year or billing that in progress payments or chunks, you package all of that up. You put a monthly price on it and they pay you by direct debit every month. You get paid whether it's busy season or not. No feast, no famine, no higher revenue in the first 4 months of the year and then petering out and not knowing where our cash flow is going to come from. Steady, predictable revenue in your bank account every single month. And I want to tell you why this matters beyond cash flow. And it's the value of your company. The technology companies are valued at 8 to 10 times revenue because their income is predictable. And accounting firms are typically sitting at 1 to 1.5 times. But MRR, monthly recurring revenue, will move you from a transactional business to a subscription business. And that's got compounding effects on your firm value, on planning out your team, your projections, and your own peace of mind. To me, it's a why wouldn't you? And not only does it benefit you, as a business owner, you're leading, you're going first, and you're showing your clients this is something you can be considering in your business too. So we've just covered 3 moves that change how you price. But here's the next question, because it's scary, right? It's like you're going to change something and it's not the way we've always done it and the old way was familiar. The question is, how do you know if any of it's working? How do you measure the health of your pricing across the whole firm, not just that invoice that goes out and getting paid? And that's where average hourly rate comes in. We refer to it as AHR. And I want you to think of this as your management dashboard for pricing, because it will tell you if your decisions or where your decisions are showing up. So why this matters particularly for monthly recurring revenue. It's important because once clients are on a monthly recurring revenue package, you'll actually lose visibility on individual job margins. You can't always see what each piece of work costs because it's all bundled. You've bundled it all in and you've got that annual fee divided by 12 coming in monthly. And so AHR is how you make sure the packages that you've built are actually profitable and whether the margins are eroding over time as scope creep, because the fee's staying fixed, right? Once it's locked in, we're not really looking into it. And so I want to be really clear. AHR is not about tracking hours. It's about the question, for every hour of human effort that went into the client work this year, how much revenue did your firm generate? So here's the formula for that. Total revenue divided by total client delivery hours. It's that simple. That's AHR. So most firms, when they work out their AHR number, they're anywhere between 120 to 180. But you might be below that, you might be above that, but this is what we hear and see most typically. A mechanic or a massage therapist earns more per hour than the average fee earner in your firm at this level. That should be a wake-up call. And so with the firms that we work with, one of the first targets that we're getting you to focus on to work towards, $350 AHR. And that's achievable in 1 to 2 years with the right kind of coaching. 500 AHR, this is fun. We have firms achieving this. Sure, they might bounce around this number. It might go up, it might go down, depending on the product that they're delivering. It's not by charging $500 an hour, but we're achieving this through better pricing, working smarter, and sometimes shifting your service mix. So there's 3 levers, because the first thing people ask is, oh, so we've just got to take time out. No, and this is not about price gouging. AHR is an outcome number, it's an output, and it goes up 3 ways. We simply get better on pricing the same work. We generate and drive better efficiency in our business through our processes, through our people, training, development, and we make sure we're shifting to higher value services. And that's your products. Are your products and services actually profitable? Think of AHR like a temperature gauge in your car. It doesn't tell you what's wrong, but it will tell you that something's worth looking at. And once you start measuring this monthly, you will see patterns. And when you see it increasing monthly, that's where it gets really exciting for us all. So let's talk about a little example here of the re-engineering the pricing and the package. So we start here. We've got 28 hours taken to complete a job. It's $4,900 from last year, billed in arrears, and we've just worked out that's 175 AHR. That's our starting point. So first up, we're going to reprice and repackage the client engagement. We're going to add some more value, maybe phone calls, emails, and say to the client, loved serving you for all of these years, but it's been a really long time since we reviewed our fees for our services. And we just want to let you know that while we're doing all these great things for you, that the fee will be going up. Here's the new fee for your work this year, and we're letting you know in advance. So we've just increased last year's fee by 20%. And quite honestly, most of you will give me a conservative number. I'll increase by 10. I've even heard 5% increase. Go all in. Do it once. Do it properly. The next thing that happens here, though, is we drive time down, yes, because we're really honing in on the use of AI and technology and processes and people training. And so we're continuously driving time down. Maybe it's the fact that I've done the job 5 years in a row and I know the client really well now. So the job now takes 22 hours. Now I've got a 263 average hourly rate on the same job. I've saved some time and I've been training and developing my team to look for opportunities in every client job. They've got 6 hours on their hands now. And while they were doing the job, they decided to recommend, say, example, a cash flow budget and forecast with some meetings thrown in. We're going to bill them $3,800 for that. It might take us 6 hours to set that up and including the meetings that we're budgeting. And on that particular project, that's an AHR of 633. That's decent. It's templated. It's efficient. So now what we've got is a total fee for that client of $9,600. Previously, they were only $4,900. We've used the full 28 hours that we used last year anyway in terms of our team's capacity, but our overall AHR is 342. Same team, not extra people, no extra headcount, just a smarter use of time and more courage in how we price. And now we've got more profit. I really want you to hear this. The power of focusing on AHR. For every $100 increase in AHR on a 10,000 delivery hour business, that's $1 million in new revenue. Average hourly rate is a decision. You decide what it should be. You've been deciding charge out rates for years. Why not flip the model and decide on this? Because this one factors in your profitability. Let's take a look at it on the table. You're a $1.5 million firm, 10,000 delivery hours, we're hitting that 150 average hourly rate mark. But over here, if we just jump that $100, still the same 10,000 hours, now we're a $2.5 million. It's the output of better pricing, increased efficiencies, and the types of products and services that you deliver. We've certainly had firms that we've worked with come in and scrap product lines, scrap delivery of certain things based on achievable AHR. Know your numbers, make better decisions. So let's recap on the 9 ways to drive AHR, but it also taps into those 3 levers that we spoke about. So first one, pricing every job client upfront, and while you're there, move as many as you can to monthly recurring revenue. That's going to help stabilize your business. Price increase across the board, straight up. Be brave, be courageous, get really honest with yourself here. Take a look at everything. But the best way to help give you some guidance here is quite simply every client into a spreadsheet, a current invoice divided by the total hours. What AHR did you achieve on that? Do an AHR analysis. Give yourself some confidence to raise these prices to where they should be. And because AHR is a decision, on that spreadsheet, if you've decided, gosh, I don't want to do anything for less than 250 AHR, sort your spreadsheet. Above the line, below the line. Everybody below the line must come up. Yes, there's fear. Yes, there might be loss of clients. Yes, that all might happen. That's what the coaching's for. We talk through that. We make strategic decisions in line with the amount of success that you want to achieve and also the factors that you need to consider in your business. Number 3, value price the projects that create value for your clients. Where's the value? That's what you want to be asking. What's the value here? And you want to get really good at communicating that, which is learning the language of the sale. Learn how to extrapolate the value, learn how to present it, learn how to get that buy-in and engagement from your clients over what we're doing here. This is planning, and you are the trusted advisor. Pricing council, I mentioned that. If you're really unsure what the job is worth, get your team around it and have some fun with it and ask those questions. Price so high it makes you nervous. Yes. Often, when our firms do go through this and they are a little concerned what might happen as a result, they will lose very few clients. Why? Because the relationship is stronger than you think and the respect is stronger than you think. And the clients that they do lose, 2 things happen. Yeah, they were someone we were a bit unsure of anyway. We didn't mind losing them. And the second thing, the total pricing increases far outweighed anything we lost. Hedge your bets. Hours budgets on all jobs. Now, while AHR is a great measure and we talked about it being like a dashboard, you also want to get down to having some kind of guidance on what the time budget is for the job. So we call that TUB, time under budget, or TUPPY, time under prior year. And that gives us a benchmark and a guide there to ensure that at a team level, we're staying focused on that efficiency factor. Use of technology. Gosh, many of our coaching clients came back from our group in-person meetings and said, holy smokes, we are moving so quickly with the use of AI. So technology was one thing, moving into the cloud was one thing. Now we're going into a completely whole different realm. So get more efficient, get quicker, find ways to do that. And number 9, we're dealing with what you've got first, which is your current clients at the current pricing rate. And we're improving that, moving to monthly recurring revenue and starting to sell value priced jobs. But remember I said to you that there's 3 ways to grow revenue. And that third way is get more of them, more clients, sell more services. And so in that, in the selling more services to your existing clients and in the getting new ones, you're at a place where there's no price parity. You're at a place where new clients have never worked with you before, so they don't know what to expect. So price that job like you don't want it. Price it so high that it scares even you. With the services for your clients, get practicing on that value articulation. But market and sell hard. You go and aim for that model from the best client that you currently work with and model that to be that new ideal client that you want more of. They must be on monthly recurring revenue. They must take our advice. They must be fun to work with. Build a criteria and then go out and sell them into your business and into your services. I promised you 30 to 45 minutes. How good is this? We're on time. And in the last 30 minutes, we've covered 3 things that move the needle on pricing. We've started with mindset because that's always the real block. And I just quickly saw the chat here and Emily said, if there is no pushback or hesitation from your clients, then you're not charging enough. Let that land. Emily knows. She's been doing this. The models of upfront pricing, value-based pricing, and monthly recurring revenue, and AHR, this is what we've covered. This is the number that will tell you whether any of this is actually working. Revenue will increase, and so will your profits. And I showed you that in the delivery hours because there's those 2 levers there. We're not only focusing on just raising those prices, we're also simultaneously training, developing the team, making use of these new tools and softwares and AI that's available to us. You can read plenty of case studies or watch plenty of case studies on our YouTube channel and on our website of exactly what happens to firms when they follow these processes. Pricing is one of the quickest and fastest levers to growing your business, and not only to growing your business, but to fixing your foundations. Give yourself a solid baseline, take out the guesswork and build a foundation that you can grow from, scale from, improve from. None of it's complicated and it will require intention, a process, someone to keep you accountable, but that's the work, right? You can choose to be so busy in your work, doing the work, that you don't have time to focus on your business. And I get it. I spoke to firms like that this week who desperately want to get out of the daily grind, but don't have time to even put a plan in place. And if you want help and you don't know where to begin, it's that plan that's the very first thing, right? You just need to have some idea of where we want to go, where we are now, and what we need to do in between. If you'd help with that, you can join us in the Growth Accelerator workshop. Now, you do need to be more than $1 million in revenue. That's where it's most beneficial for you. And as long as you want to learn, want to build a plan, you're welcome to join us. It's a 2-day workshop. We do 4 hours each day, so a total of 8 hours, and we call it the Growth Accelerator. We'll build a plan with you. We'll work through your numbers. We'll give you a model that shows you the next 12 months, 3 years, 8 years in your business. And we incorporate these levers of AHR, of pricing. We'll challenge you on the hours, your delivery, your headcount. How many team members do we have? We even go into that measure or that mix of administration team versus fee earning team and how we can build this business in the direction you want it built. If you want it built to sell, if you want fast and scalable, all of that gets built into this plan. And so if you'd like to know more about the Growth Accelerator workshop, you can scan that QR code. I think I can pop a link here in the chat for you all as well. Let's see if I can do that. Look, it's a very long link, but it's there. And that will take you straight to the webpage where you can take a little bit of a look at that. But the Growth Accelerator workshop is a standalone planning opportunity. If you are interested in coaching and would like to talk further about that, you can go through our website to apply here or book a meeting with me and have a conversation about that. But otherwise, this webinar should serve as a good starting point on what to do and what to be focused on to help you get these results. So hopefully today has sparked something for you, even if it's just one thought about your own pricing. Take that thought and act on it this week. Even just one conversation with a long-term client about a fee review, that's where all of this starts. I just want to share something else I just saw out of the corner of my eye. And thank you, Kyle, for sharing this. So Kyle says, these concepts and this coaching program absolutely works. I'd also add in scheduling and measuring turnaround time for reducing pickup and put down time as ways to drive the AHR. That's some really cool advice. So team, I'd love to stay connected. Please find me on LinkedIn, head over to profittime.co. It's always a pleasure to join you. I appreciate every single one of you being here, giving me some of your time. And I look forward to learning how this webinar and this information helps you in some way, hopefully in a big way. But for now, we'll leave it there on pricing. And I look forward to having you all at the next webinar. Take care, everyone.